Is North Carolina still governed by the people or only by permission? Remember, we fight for what's right because it's time to go right.
North Carolina, listen up. This is not left versus right. This is the people versus permission. We do not beg for rights, we stand on them. We do not rent liberty from power. By the people, not by permission. Governed by the people, not by permission. This is Go Right with Peter Boykin. This is Go Right with Peter Boykin.
Is North Carolina still governed by the people or only by permission? This is Peter Boykin, and this is hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. I want you to imagine something simple. Not a politician, not a party leader, not a donor or a consultant or a strategist, just a voter. A North Carolinian who still believes that stepping into a voting booth means something. That they are participating in a system where authority flows upwards from the people, not downward from institutions. Now ask yourself this. Does the system still see that voter as the source of power, or as a variable to be managed? Because when you look honestly at what is happening across North Carolina, the answer becomes uncomfortable. Political parties are no longer competing for voters. They are controlling access to them. Candidate loyalty is no longer earned through persuasion. It is enforced through compliance. And voter tools are no longer civic instruments. They are rewards. Step out of line and they disappear. That should disturb anyone who still believes in a constitutional republic. The Constitution does not protect political parties. It restrains them. It does not give leadership the right to decide who deserves a voice. It exists to protect the people from consolidated power. Yet power is consolidating anyway. Different parties, different tactics, same instinct. Control. We are told this is a strategy. We are told this is a necessity. We are told that this is how the game is played. But when the game replaces the Constitution, liberty always loses. Courts step back. Federal oversight retreats. And the final line of defense becomes the voter. But here's the problem. The voter is increasingly treated as a liability. And when parties decide who gets access, when lawmakers draw maps to protect themselves, when executive offices are reduced to symbolic shells, when protest laws tighten while dissent grows louder, that is not stability. That is fear. A government that fears its citizens will always try to manage them instead of serving them. This is not left versus right. This is not red versus blue. This is about sovereignty. Voters across the political spectrum agree on one thing. Judges should follow the Constitution, not partisan loyalty. Because when every institution becomes political, liberty has nowhere left to hide. Add in federal cultural wars, national rulings imposed from far away, and local voices reduced to afterthoughts. A constitutional republic cannot survive on distance. It survives on consent. And consent cannot exist when participation requires permission. North Carolina does not have a voter apathy problem. North Carolina has a power humility problem. Too many leaders believe the system exists to protect them. Too many parties believe voters exist to validate decisions already made. And too many institutions confuse legality with legitimacy. Legality without legitimacy is the fastest path to collapse. Now, going right does not mean defending a party, no matter what. Going right means defending the Constitution, even when it is inconvenient. It means holding everyone accountable, especially your own side. Because liberty does not disappear all at once. It erodes quietly, through exceptions, through justifications, through permission. And once power requires permission from the powerful, the people are no longer sovereign. They are subjects. North Carolina must decide what it intends to be. The Constitution already made its choice. The question is whether we still win. This is #GoRight with Peter Boykin. You can check out more at GoRightNews.com, GoRightNC.com, on Rumble at GoRight News, Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Gab, Truth Social, TikTok, Facebook, Parler, X, and probably more that I forgot about. Support independent constitutional journalism at Cash App, $GoRight News. I'm a constitutional liberty, and I examined the North Carolina politics. Thanks for tuning in.
I see a line at the polling place, quiet faith on every face. They came to speak, they came to choose, but power hates it when it moves. Tools get locked behind a door, loyalty gets you something more. Step out of line, you lose your voice, like liberty is a party choice. Maps get drawn, rooms get closed, promises rot where truth gets sold. They call it order, they call it law, but who decided what we saw? Is North Carolina governed by the people, or only by permission? Do we still own our constitutional republic, or just a rented position? If your rights require approval, then your freedom is a fiction. Is North Carolina governed by the people, or only by permission? Hey. Hey. Courts step back, the pressure stays. Power plays in quiet ways. A job gets stripped, a voice gets cut, a shell remains, but nothing's there to trust. Protest meets a tighter chain, still the people speak through rain. Order matters, so to speech, liberty mission. Going right is not defending a party no matter what. Going right is defending the Constitution even when it is inconvenient. Hold your side accountable, especially your side. No permission slips for rights. No closed doors for the light. No more silence, no more spin. Let the people back in. Is North Carolina governed by the people, or only by permission? Do we still own our constitutional republic, or just a rented position? If your rights require approval, then your freedom is a fiction. Is North Carolina governed by the people, or only by permission? Consent of the governor, not permission. From the powerful. Nothing. Go right with Peter Boykin.
Are North Carolina voters losing power while parties consolidate control? Welcome back to Go Right News, and this is a Go Right NC segment. I am your host, Peter Boykin, and this is hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Picture a North Carolina voter standing in line at a polling place. They believe their vote still matters. They assume the system exists to serve the people, not the other way around. But behind the scenes, party leadership, legal maneuvering, and institutional gatekeeping are quietly reshaping who gets heard and who gets sidelined. This is not about left versus right. This is about whether a constitutional republic can survive when power stops flowing upwards from the people. Across North Carolina, the political system is changing. Not through sweeping reform or open debate, but through quiet consolidation. Let's talk about the voter rolls and party switching signaling deeper instability. Public reporting shows a steady shift in North Carolina voter registration and candidate party affiliation. Party switching is no longer rare or shocking. Candidates are changing labels not out of convenience, but necessity. Political analysts note that ideological enforcement inside both major parties has intensified. Loyalty is rewarded, independence is punished, and candidates who challenge leadership expectations face isolation, loss of institutional support, or exclusion from party infrastructure altogether. That's not voter engagement. That's voter containment. And I, for one, I don't like to see it. I really don't like to see it. Meanwhile, there's party machines control access to the electorate. On the Democratic side, reporting reveals that party leadership has withheld voter turnout tools from candidates who previously supported overriding a governor's veto. Access to data, outreach lists, and campaign infrastructure is now conditional. Parties that aren't really supposed to take sides, right? Now, when political parties decide who is allowed to reach voters, participation becomes a privilege instead of a right. And the Constitution does not authorize parties to ration civic access. Folks, if you're a candidate, you can always access a lot of data through the voter information on the local websites and the the state voter rolls. They update it. It takes a little bit of extra work, but it's there. Now let's move on to Republican power structures who face their own test. While left-leaning outlets frame Republican leadership as fearful for voters, the underlying issue deserves serious attention. Gerrymandering, legislative maneuvering, and leadership consolidation have become permanent features of modern governance. Even when legal, power preservation without accountability corrodes trust. And conservative governance is supposed to be rooted in consent, not insulation. Meanwhile, the courts retreat as state authority expands. Federal courts have declined to intervene in North Carolina's congressional maps, leaving redistricting squarely in the hands of state lawmakers. Lawsuits challenging the maps were withdrawn after judges refused to issue injunctions. Now, this places enormous responsibility back to where it belongs, with the voters. When courts step back, elections become the final safeguard. I can agree with that. In the past, they have let outsiders end up deciding our congressional maps. And in reality, your people you elect local into Congress are the ones who are supposed to create the maps. But they should be creating it with openness and with input by us, the citizens. Not just because people voted for them, but still openness to hear from the public. And voters agree on judicial restraint. Polling shows strong bipartisan agreement that judges should rule based on the Constitution rather than partisan loyalty. In a divided state such as North Carolina, this consensus is striking. North Carolinians understand that activist courts may feel satisfying in the short term, but they undermine liberty in the long run. This goes for conservative or liberal courts. Judges should be able to judge impartially without partisanship. Which comes to executive authority under pressure. Tensions between the Attorney General's office and legislative leadership reflect a deeper struggle over institutional power. Threats to strip authority away from executive offices turn checks and balances into political leverage. An office hollowed out for political convenience serves no one except those who benefit from unaccountable power. That is one issue that I see in North Carolina, whether it be left or right, when they get a supermajority, which I don't believe in. They try to tend to take away power from our governor, our attorney general, our lieutenant governor. Lieutenant governor really, basically at this point, doesn't really do much, isn't really given much to do other than to run the Senate, but at the same time, they don't normally do that. Meanwhile, protest laws tighten while dissent continues. And we have a lot of protests, usually by the left here. The right wing would like to protest. I used to do a lot of so-called protests or rallies, and especially during the whole COVID situation. It's calmed down because of the Charlie Kirk issues and the violence that's been going on, etc., etc. But the left still continues to do what they do. Despite stricter protest laws, North Carolinians continue to demonstrate. Arrests have increased, lawsuits are pending. Order matters, so does free speech. And the Constitution does not require obedience to be quiet to the legitimate. And folks, though, if you're going to go out protest or rally, peaceful protest, follow the Constitution, follow the First Amendment. Meanwhile, federal cultural wars land in North Carolina. Pending Supreme Court rulings affecting Medicaid policy and gender-related medical services place North Carolina directly in the path of national cultural battles. Regardless of personal ideology, these decisions increasingly bypass local debate and community consent. The federal power grows, and the distance from the voter grows with it. Folks, that's a lot right now. Every day I get a digest of what's going on in North Carolina, and every day I'm going to try to give y'all some information about what's going on, especially in North Carolina. I do talk about all of the United States. I do talk about worldly issues, but I live in North Carolina. I've ran for multiple offices in North Carolina. I put a lot of faith in North Carolina, and so I will continue the Go Right NC initiative. You can follow and support Go Right News and Go Right NC at GoRightNC.com, GoRightNews.com, and Rumble at Go Right News, Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Gab, Truth Social, TikTok, Facebook, Parler, X, etc., etc. There's so many of them every day. You can support independent constitutional journalism at Cash App, $GoRightNews. And I'm your host, the Constitutionalist for Liberty, examining North Carolina politics and world politics, exploring party control, voter access, judicial restraint, and the quiet consolidation of power. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy my monologues and my commentary, and I will continue challenging whether the state is still governed by consent or permission. Don't forget.
The sun crawls over Gibsonville like a spark on the wire. Another dawn for the workers who refuse to retire. Old mill's empty, but the spirit never left this town. And every family on these roads keeps holding the ground. Kids in school buses rolling past, the rust and the shine. Some classrooms falling apart, but they're still learning just fine. Faith and stubborn pride build every ridge and pine. You're out in Alamance County, you can feel the design. Raleigh keeps talking, but they don't see our eyes. We are the storm on the horizon, where the Carolina will rise. From the fields of snow camp to the lights of Burlington nights, we are the voice that never fades when the truth ignites. Yeah, out in Alamance, the Carolina will rise. Parents stand tall when the school board tries to hide the line. Tax fights and textbooks worn out like a decades-old sign. Sheriff badges shining out on Highway 87. They keep watch through the night as the county prays for heaven. Neighbors gather at the diner with a coffee in hand, talking Trump, talking freedom, talking how to fix this land. And no matter how loud the world spins with its lies, you cannot dim the spark of a Carolina rise. Raleigh keeps talking, but they don't see our eyes. We are the storm on the horizon, where the Carolina will rise. From the fields of snow camp to the lights of Burlington nights, we are the force that never fades when the truth ignites. Yeah, out in Alamance, the Carolina will rise. We carry fire in the stores our families kept. We carry memory of every promise the politicians slipped. We stand unbroken
to hashtag go right. God bless everybody.